Now that I'm done with the welcome page, I'm gonna go ahead and start with main application page. Once progress bar reaches the end, I need to do two things. First, I have to show text enjoy to a user, and second, I have to go ahead and change the page to main application page. I'm going to use a callback function page change that I passed as a prop from app wrapper. So I will specify where I want to move, and logic and app wrapper will do the rest. In my first application, I was using React Native Navigation Library. However, at this time, I have decided to use conditional rendering approach instead. The logic I'm going to use for switching pages is very simple. I set welcome page as an initial page, then once progress bar completed and triggers the callback function, I set the state of the current page to main application page, and respectively welcome page is being unmounted and main application page is being mounted. I have decided to make main application page as a classful component. This is my personal preferences, and the reason I like it is because it gives me easy access to lifecycle methods such as component did mount, component did update, component will unmount. In addition, I have access to should component update, and I'm not gonna use it here, but in general, it's very useful to adjust in performance. After putting it all together, I launch the application. Welcome page shows up, progress bar reaches the end, enjoy shows, and in 1 second it switches the page to main application page. I want to go over a layout of main application page. Essentially, it has three containers. One holds the title, wisdom box, one holds the main space for the quote and the author, and one holds the button. What I love about React Native is that Flexbox that is used for styling in it makes it extremely easy to create responsive layout. I worked with Android XML and I worked with Xcode Storyboard, and I want to say it does take practice to do the same thing, and it kind of makes it much more time consuming. But this is my subjective opinion. When I created the original application, I used touchable opacity component to get a press from that button. Later, in latest version, React Native added a component called pressable, and I want to explore it because I haven't used it yet. I do not imagine that it's going to be too much different, but let's see if I go with it or if I use the touchable opacity. Also, to the project structure, I added assets folder. This assets folder will hold all the images and the actual quote blob. That's an array which holds all the objects with the quotes. Object will contain two properties, which is a quote and author. After playing with pressable component, I'd say it definitely brings interesting capabilities. However, in my particular project, I simply do not need it. Therefore, I decided to reverse and go with the touchable opacity for the button. Then I imported a quote blob from assets right here. I have a simple condition here which will say when button is disabled or it's available for pressing to get a quote. And I added the function which is called new quote selector, and this function is going to be called anytime when user presses get a quote button. When this function is executed, three things need to happen. First of all, index must be generated, random index, which will select the quote or the object with the quote from a quote blob array. Another thing is I need to track somehow the index or the quote, to be more exact, that already was shown to a user, so it's not going to be repeating over and over again. I have not decided how to do it yet, so I either will be using some kind of data structure keeping all the indexes, or most likely I will just be removing the quote that was already shown from the array. And the last thing, of course, is to show the quote and the author of the quote on the screen.